Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Saturday Morning Mastermind. I'm your host today, Samantha Studebaker Carl, and I'm here with my good friends Lori and Dan and Catherine and Kenneth. And today we're going to today we're going to continue talking about the book, The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. We are in the section titled Awakening on page 272. But before we get going, I want to just invite you to participate with us if you'd like to. We'd love to have you. You can find us just by going down below this video here on YouTube. There'll be a link there where you can join us on our Facebook group and learn how to participate with us. All right, I want to give my friends an opportunity to introduce ourselves, and then we can go ahead and start with the reading. Jump out, guys.
Good morning, Lori Emmons in Denver here. Happy New Year.
Dan Sidlick in Las Vegas, Nevada.
And we have Kenneth with us, as Samantha mentioned, and this is Catherine Clement. And I will do the reading. So we're starting at Awakening. At 1 minute and 27 seconds after midnight, Nora Seed marked her emergence back into life by vomiting all over her duvet. Alive, but hardly. Choking, exhausted, dehydrated, struggling, trembling, heavy, delirious, pain in her chest, even more pain in her head. This was the worst life could feel, and yet it was life, and life was precisely what she wanted. It was hard, near impossible, to pull herself off the bed, but she knew she had to get vertical. She managed it somehow and grabbed her phone, but it seemed too heavy and slippy to keep a grasp of and fell onto the floor beyond view. "Help," she croaked, staggering out of the room. Her hallway seemed to be tilting like it was a ship in a storm, but she reached the door without passing out, then dragged the chain lock off the latch and managed, after great effort, to open it. "Please help me." She barely realized it was still raining as she stepped outside in her vomit-stained pajamas, passing the step where Ash had stood a little over a day before to announce the news of her dead cat. There was no one around, no one that she could see. So she staggered towards Mr. Banerjee's house in a series of dizzy stumbles and lurches, eventually managing to ring a doorbell. A sudden square of light sprung out from the front window. The door opened. He wasn't wearing his glasses and was confused maybe because of the state of her and the time of night. "I'm so very sorry, Mr. Banerjee. I've done something very stupid. You better call an ambulance." "Oh, my lord, what on earth has happened?" "Please." "Yes, I'll call one right away." 000348. And that is when she allowed herself to collapse forwards and with considerable velocity right onto Mr. Banerjee's doormat. The sky grows dark, the black over blue, yet the stars still dare to shine for you. The other side of despair. Life begins, Sartre once wrote, on the other side of despair. It wasn't raining anymore. She was inside and sitting in a hospital bed. She had been put on a ward and had eaten and was feeling a lot better. The medical staff were pleased following her physical examination. The tender abdomen was to be expected, apparently. She tried to impress the doctor by telling her a fact Ash had told her about a stomach lining renewing itself every few days. Then a nurse came and sat on her bed with a clipboard and went through reams of questions relating to her state of mind. Nora decided to keep her experience of the Midnight Library to herself because she imagined that it wouldn't go down too well on a psychiatric evaluation form. It was safe to surmise the little-known realities of the multiverse probably weren't yet incorporated within the care plans of the National Health Service. The questions and answers continued for what felt like an hour. They covered medication, her mother's death, Volts, losing her job, money worries, the diagnosis of situational depression. Have you ever tried anything like this before? The nurse asked. Not in this life. And how do you feel right now? I don't know. A bit strange, but I don't want to die anymore. And the nurse scribbled on the form. Through the window, after the nurse had gone, she watched the trees' gentle movements in the afternoon breeze and distant rush hour traffic shunt slowly along Bedford Ring Road. It was nothing but trees and traffic and mediocre architecture, but it was also everything. It was life. A little later, she deleted her suicidal social media post and, in the moment of sincere sentimentality, she wrote something else instead. She titled it, A Thing I Have Learned, written by a nobody who has been everybody. Should I continue? Yep. Okay. A Thing I Have Learned, written by a nobody who has been everybody. It is easy to mourn the lives we aren't living. Easy to wish we'd developed other talents, said yes to different offers. Easy to wish we'd worked harder, loved better, handled our finances more astutely, been more popular, stayed in the band, gone to Australia, said yes to the coffee, or done more bloody yoga. It takes no effort to miss the friends we didn't make, and the work we didn't do, and the people we didn't marry, and the children we didn't have. It is not difficult to see yourself through the lens of other people and to wish you were all the different kaleidoscopic versions of you they wanted you to be. It is easy to regret and keep regretting ad infinitum until our time runs out. But it is not the lives we regret not living that are the real problem. It is the regret itself. It's the regret that makes us shrivel and wither and feel like our own and other people's worst enemy. We can't tell you if any of those other versions would have been better or worse. Those lives are happening. It is true. But you're happening as well, and that is the happening we have to focus on. Of course, we can't visit every place or meet every person or do every job, yet most of what we'd feel in any life is still available. We don't have to play every game to know what winning feels like. We don't have to hear every piece of music in the world to understand music. We don't have to have tried every variety of grape from every vineyard to know the pleasure of wine. Love and laughter and fear and pain are universal currencies. We just have to close our eyes and savor the taste of the drink in front of us and listen to the song as it plays. We are as completely and utterly alive as we are in any other life and have access to the same emotional spectrum. We only need to be one person. We only need to feel one existence. We don't have to do everything in order to be everything because we are already infinite. We are alive, and we always contain a future of multifarious possibility. So let's be kind to the people in our own existence. Let's occasionally look up from the spot in which we are because wherever we happen to be standing, the sky above goes on forever. Yesterday, I knew I had no future and that it was impossible for me to accept my life as it is now. And yet, today, that same messy life seems full of hope and potential. The impossible, I suppose, happens via living. Will my life be miraculously free from pain, despair, grief, heartbreak, hardship, loneliness, depression? No. But do I want to live? Yes. Yes. 1,000 times yes.
I think that's a good place to start, or yeah, to stop. I think in this section here where she writes this post, it's she addresses something that I think that all of us, we all face. And I think that as we've gone through this book, we have faced a lot of the things that she was struggling with, you know, in that internal struggle that she was having, and this idea that, you know, that's the lives that we haven't lived, and mourning that, you know, having the regret over the things that, you know, we thought we should do, or the shoulda, woulda, couldas, or, you know, the people that we have, you know, been difficult to, or really unpleasant to, or you know, maybe we just didn't agree with, or whatever. And you know, I can think back in my life and think of all kinds of times where, you know, I was probably not being really pleasant to my husband for one reason or another. It probably didn't have anything to do with what he was or wasn't doing. It was some thing inside myself that was telling me that he wasn't doing what I wanted, and so therefore that was not good, or, you know, or I wasn't doing what I thought that I should be doing, and so that's not good, you know. And we kind of do that to ourselves, where we tell ourselves these nasty things and cause ourselves to have so much disappointment and regrets and frustrations and everything. And yet, if we recognize that's what we're doing to ourselves, then it's not as difficult, you know. I mean, I wouldn't say it's not as difficult. I would say that it's not. Yeah, I was reading another book the other day that was talking about these emotional states that we have and these thought processes that we have in our head. And it was kind of talking about, like, to recognize ourselves as human, and that all of these things that happen on our head, thought processes, emotions, feelings, all of that, is just part of the human condition. And if we recognize that that is just part of the human condition, that we have these constant flows of thoughts and emotions and all of that, is that we can be more compassionate for ourselves, and we can be less critical of those things that come into our heads that cause us so much pain and discomfort and frustration and depression, anger, all of it. And we can also, that when we recognize that in ourselves, that we can also recognize that that is what everybody else is going through too, so that when someone lashes out at us or is disappointed in us or any number of things, that we can recognize that, okay, that's just some baloney they're telling themselves, and I don't have to believe it any more than I have to believe it when I tell it to myself. So what do you guys think?
I
Interesting.
know. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Lori.
I'm just saying that I know that the monkey mind chatter in my head is a constant battle, and easy to discourage you or disarm, or maybe cause a lot of alarm because you have so much chatter that you can't even think. Go ahead, Dan.
I was gonna also say it's interesting what you were just saying in a lot of that, because then it goes back to a lot of times when people says, you know, well, you don't know what's going on in somebody else's life, and they may be, you know, going through, like you said, that, you know, that chatter or that whatever that, you know, that we all go through. And I will say, even from my point of view, you know, having lived alone now for the last 3 years, it gets, you know, really, you get a lot of time where you just have your thoughts in your head because you have nobody else around to, you know, bounce things off of, or just talk, or just normal, you know, conversations and stuff and things like that. So, sometimes your head can just kind of encompass everything. And then next thing you know, you're like, you are kind of going down that spiral, turned down rather than being, sometimes. And it's being able to recognize that and understand that and go, okay, no, wait, it's just a moment. It's just, being in this, but it's not really this bad. I'm just over emphasizing it right this point in time rather than just seeing it for what it is. Because I have in the past choked, to where it was like I couldn't breathe. I couldn't, that whole part of, and my family was there in front of me. So, but even then, it's like, no, yes, I do. I want to live. I understand that feeling she's saying. I want to live, because, you know, that is so much better than the alternative until the day and point in time when I will pass on and die, but not because of me choking, and I think, that it has served me well at times, but other times I've just had my moments where I'm just too in my head that, you know, got to figure out a way, or find somebody that I can call and say, hey, okay, right now I'm, I need to talk some of this out, get it out. And I think that's, has helped before. And there have been several people I've, over the years reach out to when I get like that, because it does help. It has its place.
I have never been good at talking to people about what's going on with me or yeah, even when I live in a household with other people. They do, like they talk about stuff that's bothering them amongst themselves, but I don't know. I'm just having I even thought about getting a counselor, but I don't even want to talk to a counselor. And but I agree that it probably does help some people, if you're comfortable doing that stuff. But I've had a huge challenge this last week with my mind, and it's part of it is a change in medication, and I understand that, and that's like helping me get through it, but it, it's been very challenging because normally I have a very quiet mind. In fact, I have to put something in my mind because it's just quiet all the time. And so I put stuff in there, but I had to I had to do like several, I don't know what I should call them, but just where I realize that my mind is spiraling and where I just kind of look myself in the mirror and say, stop it, you know, and I have to do a, a break of some kind. Like I have to just put music on and something that not something quiet where my mind might get in there, but like something really upbeat that I can try to dance to or move to if I'm not able to dance that day. But uh, music really helps move me. I mean, it's a vibration, so it makes sense that music can move us in such a immediate way. And if you think about, I was teaching my granddaughter this too, you know, when you have these amazing moments in your life, capture them and remember them and use them in the future when you have not such amazing moments in your life, and you can go back and remember those really amazing ones because they're very precious and they can really, a good song, because to me, songs always bring memories. And I can think of, there's songs that I know of that just will immediately put me into the place where I was at that time. You know, it just takes you back. And so I really can just shift myself really easily with that and with memories. And, you know, those good ones, gosh, because we as humans, you know, we tend to have a lot of bad ones. But then, you know what? We also just remember the bad ones. Like, you know, you can go through a whole day and have 15 amazing things happen, and then something bad, you know, goes wrong that you have to deal with that you weren't equipped to deal with or something, and or somebody can say something about you. Well, sometimes that doesn't matter so much. Some people really care about somebody saying something, but something happens like that. Maybe you get a work review that's not good, and that's the only thing you're going to remember from that day. Those other 15 amazing things just are gone. You know, I don't know why we're a magnet to negativity like that. I have to remind myself parts of my body that don't hurt and try to hold on to that instead of the other, you know. And you can do that with negative thoughts, or at least try to. But sometimes the mind is just very busy. And we've talked before about how it's not always our thoughts, like they're floating around out there. and, and maybe because of the vibration that we're happen to be on at the moment, those are the ones that are attracted to us or something. I don't know how it works, but I just know that if you don't do one of those status breaks, maybe that's what I'll call it. If you don't do a status break and stop that line of thinking, you can really spiral down very easily, especially in this day and time because we're getting hit from every angle of different things.
Yeah, my thoughts, you know, I'm kind of more like you, Catherine, in terms of I'm not I, talking about it to the people in my life. I, I know that I think probably from the outside, you know, it looks all wonderful, you know, and I really don't have, this is the thing is I don't really have anything bad going on in my life, but my thoughts, they're so, they do this baloney where you know, they bring the negativity back around, you know, and I'll be fine for a while, and then all of a sudden I'll be focusing on all of this mumbo jumbo that really doesn't even doesn't even matter. And all of a sudden I'm in this kind of like headspace of doom and gloom, like the whole world is coming apart, you know, or my whole world, not the whole world, but my whole world is just spiraling into negativity. And like you, I have to do something that is like a break, you know, break that in some way. And I do have some like audio recordings that I listen to. They're not like the upbeat like what you do, Catherine. These ones are more of a peaceful, because they take me into spaces, head spaces of like what you were saying, the you know, is think about those peaceful times or those good times in your life and go back to those. And I have a lot of those from when we were living in the camper all those years ago, because I was just immersed in nature all the time. And so I have a lot of times that I spent where I was just sitting peacefully out in nature and just in this completely clear headed, just all peace feelings. And so I try and take myself back to that. And I forget sometimes that is literally all I have to do when my spiraling monkey mind, like you were saying, Lori, gets the better of me, because I I mean, I know that that's what it is. Like in my rational mind, I know that this monkey mind baloney and all these spiraling negative thoughts and whatnot are just that. They're just thoughts. They're random. things that come into my mind, but I start to take them too seriously, you know? I will have like, I'll have this like good memory of back when I was a teenager and I was with my friend who I cared deeply for. And I'll remember those things, but then all of a sudden I'll be like, why was that person taken from me at such a young age? Because they were in a car accident and died. And so then I go into all the negativity of what would my life have been if I had, you know, if that hadn't happened. And then I spiral into all that. And then I'm like, well, this happened instead, you know, and then all these things. And it's just, I really just wish there was like a mind smacker, you know, smack, you know, you just like walk into something that's smacking, you know, in the movie Hitchhiker's Guide from the Galaxy, when they're walking along and they like saying a word and that this thing comes up and smacks them in the face, you know. I feel like if I could just have something do that to me when I start thinking the crappy thoughts, you know, I just, oh yeah, I'm thinking something I shouldn't be thinking. It's making me feel crappy. So, you know, I don't know. I know what to do when I realize it, and but I don't always do it, you know. Sometimes I just like to wallow in that mumbo jumbo. I wouldn't say I like to, but I do it. And I don't know why I allow myself to wallow in so much crap and drag myself down into all this depressing feelings before I recognize, hey, I don't have to be doing this. I don't have to have these thoughts. I don't have to experience this crap I'm putting myself through. I could just stop it by listening to an audio recording or just going outside and sitting with the, you know, in the trees and listen to the birds or, you know, any number of things. But I struggle with that. And I don't know why. And I just always have. And it's frustrating sometimes because I can see how, you know, I don't have the same kind of thought processes or thoughts that what Nora was having, but I can see how when you get into that headspace and that negative thought processes and those all of that crap that you tell yourself, I can see how you can end up in a space of a mind of what is the point of all of this existence? Why am I even here? I don't even understand it. I just don't even want to be here anymore. I don't want to go through this crap anymore. I don't want to fight it anymore. You know, I've had those feelings. And so I know what some of it is like. And but I also know how to get out of it. And I'm so thankful for you guys being able to, you know, come and have these conversations with you guys. I don't know what my life would be if I had not started getting together with you guys every week and having these deep discussions. And, you know, because in some ways I can talk to my family about these kinds of things, but then other ways I think that, you know, because they're family and they're going through their own mumbo jumbo and we have our own, you know, family dynamics and whatnot. I don't know. It's different conversations, you know. I mean, I can have some of these conversations with Chris, but I don't know that he's really hearing me, you know, because he's in his head and has his own everything. And what I am saying a lot of the times when I'm in that depressed headspace is just negative crap that he probably doesn't hear as I'm trying to get this crap out of my head. He probably hears it as accusatory or confrontational or whatever, you know, I don't know. Or just I'm just like this horrible negative person all the time. And I don't know.
There's that monkey mind again telling you that statement you just said, that we have all these regrets and that's what we focus on because they seem so ominous and so powerful. And
Well,
how,
I was, oh,
go ahead.
finish up.
Just how they are so prominent and can take over. It's that ego in there and the emotions and our own evaluations of ourselves and others, and just have to slap it in the face again. Right, Samantha?
I was gonna say I get what you're saying about like with family because like there are a lot of things I would love to talk to my brother about, but I can't because of his immediate family. And nothing against them or anything. I love them all dearly and stuff, but you know, and then I know how he views life and how he would look, and he would kind of look at me and say, "What? You feel like that? You what? Why?" You know, he would be kind of that. He would be. I hate to say it, and he wouldn't mean to be, but he would be that antagonistic person. Like, why are you? You know, why are you being that? You know, or you're stronger than that, or you know, but instead of just going with the flow, like a couple of the friends that I do have, where I can, call them up and say, hey, I need to talk. I need to get some stuff out. And well, and even you, Samantha, a couple times have done that for me. You've been a sounding board, when I couldn't get a hold of a couple other friends, even though you were way across the country, but you helped, you know. Um, but there was no sense of best way I'll say it is no sense of ridicule, I guess, in a way. You know, it was just, oh, okay, yeah, sure, let me listen, let me throw my little bit in, but there was no judgment, no looking, just allowing that space to get it from here out there so that way I wasn't ruminating on it. And sometimes I think that's, you know, the biggest issue between families is the family dynamics and then the thoughts of, well, they see things this way or they see me this way and this and that, and they may not even really care. I mean, they care, but you know what I'm getting at. It's not prevalent to their life at that point in time. So it's like, you know, they have their own life going on. So
I think that's
that
where
hamster wheel.
the need for an outside counselor that is non-biased and non-critical, because they're not part of the family dynamics, the family. I'm very uncomfortable discussing things with family because I'm so different than the rest of them. Everyone has expectations of what they think you should be. Or shouldn't be. Either way.
Yeah, I think that you guys bring up a great point of the aspect of, how your family sees you, because we we tend to do that with our family. The people that we spend the most time with, we have very strong ideas of what we think that person is all about, and what we think. It's like, I try and have I have to preempt conversations with my husband sometimes, because like when I am spiraling into this negative depression, blah, 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 if I don't preempt and say, look, I've just got a bunch of shit in my head that I just need to I just need to say it all so I can get it out. Don't take it personally, don't take it like I'm accusing you, blah, blah, blah. I have to kind of like preempt the conversation with that. And if I do that, he does really good. If I don't do that and I just start into my rant, if you will, of all the crap that's in my head, then he takes it as if I'm accusing him of not making our life as good as what I think it should be, even though that's not what I'm trying to do at all. It's just me, struggling through all this internal bullshit, and I think that that's part of it with, other family members and other friends, that that we have in our lives is they see us in a certain way. And if what comes out of our mouth is, I don't know if it's necessarily if it's contradictory or if it is just shocking that we're having these thought processes or whatever to them, is that either A, they're going to be like, why are you feeling that way? You have no reason to feel that way, that, you know, you have it so great, or you have it this, or you know, whatever, you need to get over that or whatever. It's not a helpful response from another person. And you know, if they don't respond that way, then they're trying to analyze why you're feeling the way that you're feeling, and you ought to feel this way, and maybe you're feeling this way because of blah 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 blah, and here, just do this instead. You know how we tend to want to fix each other, right? You know, we tend to have these when someone tells us their problem, we want to fix it for them or tell them how to fix it. And I think that we do that a lot with our family and our close friends. And even though what we want as a person and what we probably should recognize that they want as a person is we just want to vent, you know, this baloney that's in our head, you know, we just want to talk it through, because I mean, ultimately we are the ones that are working through whatever mumbo jumbo is going on in our heads, and we don't want to be judged by someone else, and we don't want to be told that what we're feeling is because of blah blah blah. And that's what I worry about, like, if, or I wouldn't say worry about, but I've thought about, you know, going to a therapist too, and but I don't want them to tell me what childhood mumbo jumbo or some other BS is, you know, probably causing me to have these feelings or whatever. I mean, I not that I'm like the expert, but I'm, you know, on psychology or whatever, but I am the expert on me, and I know how my thought process works, and I know how, you know, but yet at the same time, I guess if I went into the therapist and said, look, I don't need you to psychoanalyze or blah 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 me or whatever. I just need somebody that's neutral, that I can just spill a whole bunch of crap out to and work through my own thought processes, and I don't want you to respond in any way unless I ask you, you know, maybe. But I feel like we do that here. You know, for the most part, we aren't trying to fix it for each other unless we're going, hey, I need an opinion on whatever. Is that we just, I don't know, we're better about just letting each other talk through our shit and share our own perspectives of what we experience, and then we gain insights from each other in that way, versus, you know, saying, oh, okay, well, maybe you should do this, or maybe you should do that, or, you know, whatever.
And we don't have to pay big bucks for this either.
This is an interesting conversation. It's right up my alley. Thoughts. I don't know. I don't know you guys too well, and I don't know all your stories, but I have something called CRPS, and it's a nerve condition. I had 3 groin surgeries, and something went horribly wrong, and I ended up with nerve damage, and so I have a distended abdomen and lots of prickly nerve pain, and if I aggravate it, I'm bedridden. I'm unable to sit or bend over. So my life is, um, I have lots of time to think about these kind of things. And I can tell you that the thinking is the stinking thinking is, I would, I, I would run things through my mind like the spin dry on a dryer, somehow thinking that the more I could spin them, the more control I might have over something that I had no control over. And today, I don't really want to talk about the past, but today I try to, the thoughts come and I have a choice on which ones I want to select. I had no idea you could do that. That you don't have to buy into everything that you think about. And if it's troubling you and it's causing your blood pressure to go up, maybe you might want to think about something else. I didn't know we had the power to do that. It takes a lot of work to be able to do that. And I use meditation. For me, that's my tool. When I am in that space, laying flat and trying to breathe is the most difficult thing. But it's like being a child. Once you get them to do it, then it's like medicine. And so for me, I mean, I do watch my thoughts. I journal pretty much every day, and I meditate pretty much every day. And I wasted a lot of time. I guess I wouldn't have been able to do this if I hadn't wasted that time because I wouldn't have got it. But I can tell you what we're talking about is really, really important stuff. It's about the quality of your life. I look around and how we feel about ourselves will be manifested on everything that you look around and see. What's my car look like? What's my desk look like? I mean, I had a boss one time that had, I mean, I never seen a desk so messy in my whole life, and I lost a lot of respect for him because it kind of made me feel like there's just no way this person can be organized. And all of that is probably going around in his head too. But yeah, for me, feelings are. You mentioned childhood, and I'm not going to go too deep into it, but I had to do a lot of therapy. I do a lot of therapy. I spend thousands and thousands of dollars on therapy, um, because I made myself sick with my thoughts, and I was brutal on myself. The internal dialogue and talk was so negative, that how could I what does all of this do? And I'll shut up. Is when you're like that, when we're spun like that, and we're in that kind of space, we're not in the moment. And when we're not in the moment, we miss the joy. So with that, I'll be quiet.
I don't think you need to be quiet.
No, thank you, thank you. And I see that you changed your name to Kenji. Is that a nickname that you go by, or what do you generally go by?
Kenji, it's my stepson gave me that nickname when he was 7 or 8 because Kenny G was popular and I was dating his mom and it just kind of caught on.
Uh-huh. Okay, cool. Well, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And yeah, we have this is what we've been talking about for years, is this idea that, we don't have to believe our own thoughts and we can change our thoughts, and that we can use different tools depending on what it is that works for us. I was talking about listening to audios that are peaceful, and Catherine is talking about listening to music, and we've touched on meditation a lot in our conversations, and we've read a number of different books that talk about all of that. And I I know how to resolve a lot of the stuff that goes in along in my head. Back when, well, it's been, shoot, what was I saying earlier today, Lori, that we've been in our business now for 8 years now, and before that we were in Georgia, and we were living in a camper, my husband and I, and we had the very, very simple life. And for 3 years when we were doing that, I was at peace a lot of the time because I had this time to stay focused on, daily meditations, and really working on all of those internal thought processes. And I had a lot of peace in my life back then. And then we came back to what I would call the real world. I mean, obviously that world versus it's not anymore real, but now we're back in the rat race of, we've got a business and we've got daily busy, work that we do. And we have, my son and daughter-in-law live with us with their 3 kids. And so the kids running around, and there's all of this chaos all of the time. And this has been a huge lesson for me, because I thought, back in those years when we were living in the camper, that I had found the solution, and now I'm all happy, and I wasn't having all the negative thoughts and all of that. And then I moved back into getting back into the daily grind and all of the family chaos and all of that kind of thing. And I realized that even though we can learn something and know it, is that we can fall off the wagon, if you will, just like, alcoholics fall off the wagon and they get back into that addictive behavior with alcohol. Is that we as humans we can fall off the wagon in our peace, and we can end up back in our negative thought processes, whether we realize it or not. And it has been more of a challenge for me in the last 8 years to remember that when I'm falling off into these negative thought processes, that I know the solution, I know what to do. Because when you're in the daily grind and you have all these things happening all the time, it's happening so quickly that you don't always remember, wait a second, I can take a moment and just stop what I'm doing, recognize that I'm having these thought processes, and take myself into a 30-second meditation, or just a breathing exercise, or put on an audio or whatever. I mean, how much effort does it take to put in earphones and hit play on your phone? It takes no effort at all. But yet, when I'm in the midst of the chaotic lifestyle that we lead a lot of the times, and I'm not nearly in as much of a chaotic lifestyle as I used to be when I was running 2 businesses and had teenagers and all the things that were going on with that, but now, I still have a lot coming at me all the time. And I forget that I just have these simple little things that I can do, that I can just put in my earphones and I can just hit play on an audio, and I can just bring myself back into a centered space. I can get myself up 30 minutes earlier in the morning so that I can do a morning meditation or an exercise meditation or whatever. And but I don't know. I don't know why. Why don't I do it consistently? I feel like it's very much like being an addict, where we're addicted to this negative in our head, and we forget that we are capable. We're so much stronger than what we think we are. We allow ourselves to get wrapped up in this mumbo jumbo that is going on in our heads, instead of realizing that, hey, I can stop right here in this moment, whatever I'm doing, and just take 20 seconds to do a breathing exercise and pull myself out of the negative mumbo jumbo. And I feel like I don't know. I feel like I just need some kind of reminder sometimes. And in our conversations every week, they do that. They do that a lot, is they just remind me, hey, you're caught up in your mumbo jumbo again. You can get out of it. You don't have to stay wallowing in it. So
Mine is jumbo mumbo.
jumbo
Not
mumbo,
mumbo
you
jumbo.
jumbo mumbo jumbo. Baloney, mine's baloney.
And I don't even like bologna.
It's like a cow chewing its cud. We just keep recirculating those thoughts. And as Byron Katie would remind us, most of those thoughts aren't even true, you know? And as some of our spiritual teachers would remind us, the only reason that we're having negative thoughts or feeling negative emotions is because we are thinking untrue thoughts, you know? And that's actually our reminder. That's supposed to be our slap in the face, is when we're feeling bad. That's supposed to be our reminder that, hey, what are you thinking right now? Are you worried about something that might happen in the future? Because we have no idea what's going to happen in the future. Like, it does no good to try to worry about what might happen in the future, because so much can change in just an instant, we don't even know we're going to be here in the future. So I don't want to spend a lot of time worrying about it. But in the past, I mean, obviously, not shit we can do to change that. So, but like Kenji said, if we're struggling, we're typically not in the moment. Sometimes we can be struggling in the moment, but normally we're not in the moment. We're in the past or the future. And I love Byron Katie. I loved her book. I just thought it was so simple and yet so, so direct and so easy that even a child can do that to change their thoughts or to realize that what they're thinking isn't true. I think her kids' book was Tiger, Tiger, Is It True? If
Hmm.
anybody out there wants to get that for their kid. But her book is The Work, Byron Katie, The Work. And it's just a series of 4 questions that you ask yourself. And she discovered it by being, completely so depressed that she was just on the floor with, I think something was running around her or over her or something, and she was just basically catatonic almost, but it was all caused by her thoughts. And she finally realized, oh, you know, I'm doing this to myself. And but the premise of her work is that we lie to ourselves a lot. I mean, not intentionally lie, but we say, "Oh, he thinks this about me," or "She thinks that about me," or you know, we think these thoughts, but if we ask ourselves, "Is that true? Is that really like, do we absolutely positively know that's true?" And most of the time it's not. Sometimes it is though. But even if it is true, how do we feel when we think that thought? And if it makes us feel bad, then we need to not think that thought. I mean, it's just that simple. We have to learn to control our mind so that it doesn't um, cause illness in our body. And I absolutely agree with you, Kenji. Thoughts can cause a lot of things in the body. And, the other thing is choosing what you're going to believe. I mean, you can believe whatever you want. Believe something that makes you happy. So many times we believe things. Somebody says something and we believe it, and it does nothing but make us sad, and we don't even know if that's true half the time, what they're talking about either, especially these days. Half the stuff we come across is probably written by a robot at this point. We don't know. But even if like some of my beliefs are pretty out there, and I get that compared to like mainstream people, they would think that I'm nuts, but that's okay because those beliefs make me happy. I believe in a loving God, not a punishing God, and that makes me happy and that makes me want to have life, believing in a loving God and a supportive universe rather than everything's out to get me, you know. That's what makes me want to stay alive. If I
Yeah,
believed
I think,
sorry,
no, I'm sorry. I thought you
if
were
I
done.
just one last thing, if I believed in the God that I was taught to believe in as a child, I mean, I probably would have checked out a long time ago because he sounds pretty horrible.
Yeah, very judgmental and very controversial. I don't know. Um, no, I lost my thought about how I wish that monkey mind and those thoughts that we get in our head was like the locust that you hear in the summer. They turn on and turn off all of a sudden, just like flipping a light switch. And then they're stopped. And how so many of them, it just all at once, they just totally change. I wish we could do that.
But but in essence, as we've learned in all the books and everything, we have the ability to do that. But I think getting back to a little bit of what Samantha was saying earlier is she had found that environment of peace that was perfect for her, and then coming back into life and um, starting up the business and everything again, she had one thing to take with her was that peace and that ability to take that with her, but getting into the everyday life and into the construct of everyday life. And I hate to say it, we live in a negative world. We don't live in a positive world. If you really look at the world itself overall, it's a negative world, and it does not foster positively in the way that we've learned through some of the books and techniques and things that we've learned. And for me, one of the things that helped me is coming, like Samantha, coming to this group every week. It kind of resets my button too, for me to kind of like, okay, you know, I'm in a little bit more control. I'm in more control here than what I think I am. You know, sometimes I start believing that belief that, oh, I can't control this. No, I can. I can control my thoughts. And stepping into that, like for Samantha, thinking of all that beautiful peacefulness. Let me just put on some music and go back to that one peaceful day where I was just out there and the you know clouds were just beautiful, peaceful, blissful things, or this or that, or whatever. We all have those things that we can import into our thoughts when we need to, when we need them, and when we need to. We just don't do that because we get caught up in that downward spiral, and I'm just as much of a victim of allowing it to happen rather than stopping myself. And there are times I do stop myself. It's like, let me put on some music. Let me change my vibration. And I have to remember I can, up my vibration so that way I'm not in that lower vibration mode, but a higher vibration mode. So, we have a lot more power than we admit to ourselves, sometimes that we have to remind ourselves and go back to, like Smith said, slap ourselves upside the head and say, stop that, stupid. You're better than that.
Well, that brings into mind the self-talk of calling ourselves stupid or whatever we have, not enough, not strong enough, not whatever it might be, not smart enough. Just the self-talk needs to change.
I'm 62. Well, I'll be 62 in February. And I can tell you that only within the last year have I tried changing that from kicking my butt to loving myself. And it's completely new. It's because I lived so long the other way that this way, I mean, the magic in life comes back. I mean, but for me, I had no relationship with myself. So there was no parent to the little kid. There was nobody telling me, nobody was observing the behavior and saying, hey, that anger there, we might want to discuss that. Um, we just beat ourselves up over it and use it as a weapon to stay stuck. So when Catherine and I talked about this, we're going to do a reading. I'm thinking, we're going to read, some fiction, and we'll discuss. But it is a pleasant surprise that it's going to be this, that um, not many people think like we do. Just so you know, we're a unique group. Um, to really be that introspective of ourselves, that we want to be cognizant of our thoughts. I mean, if they had taught me that at 4 or 3, when I was having anxiety and all of the things that the little boy had going on, because he was scared shitless. Mom was really, really, really young, so little me, didn't know really how to be. So this is a surprise, and it's no, like I said, it's no coincidence that we're reading a book that this is what she's talking about. Isn't that amazing?
It's
So
very amazing, and this is our first fiction book that I'm aware of. We usually read I guess self-help books or something. I don't know. And when we first started reading this, I thought, oh, we should get through this in a couple weeks. But it's turned out to be quite a while, because it does help us connect with that part of ourselves that we try to hide or avoid or disguise. I will soon be 66, and I'm still learning, so don't feel bad about that, because I grew up with a bipolar mother and an absentee father, and how was I supposed to figure out all this stuff? My little child inside never got the things you would expect, or maybe demand, or I don't know what the right word is, but what you would think that a normal child would go through and come out still smiling and driving this car.
I think in
Learning
some
to
ways, I don't
go
think
ahead.
we're that unique. I mean, I think if you look at society as in a whole, from a 10,000-foot level, there's a lot of mental illness out there. And that mental illness to me is predicated from, as you've just discussed, a bipolar mom. And I don't want, again, I'm not, there's no blame here. This is just accepting what we have to work with. You know what I'm saying? This is the cards we were
Yeah,
dealt. But look at society. I mean, there is no connection to the self. It's all about, we use everything that we can to not have to be inside. It's all about being outside. And what we're talking about is being on the inside. So it's
yeah,
really,
because inside there's not the comparison and competition that there is in the outside world. Everything is a competition. Well, I'm doing so much and making us being human doings instead of human beings. I talked about that a lot.
Yeah, I think one of the things that we've discussed off and on over time is reminding ourselves to forgive ourselves for what we didn't know and what we are only now learning, because none of us were taught. any of this. It's not even a thought process in school systems. It's not a thought process in most parents' minds that we need to work on ourselves and that we need to help teach our children, uh, better ways to think, or I wouldn't even say teach them better ways, because I think as children, we kind of have an inherent, innocent, looking at the world. We're in the moment when we're kids, right? For the most part. Not, I mean, I know that, some children do have a lot of anxiety and fear and whatnot. My granddaughter, I mean, it amazes me every day how much fear that she has over stuff that I'm just like surprised by. But yet, when we're little, when we first come into this world, unless something traumatic has happened to us, I think for the most part, we're in innocence, and we're in that kind of living in the moment. And that should be encouraged, versus what we tend to do is we tend to squash our children down and be like, sit still, stop that, quit yelling, all of those different things, and trying to control, the children's behavior because of, whatever's going on. And we don't know the best way as parents. I mean, I didn't, I can look back on my life when my kids were younger and see all this crap that I did wrong, or, at the time, nobody would have said it was wrong, and really, even now, people wouldn't say that it's wrong. That's just parenting, right? But yet, when I look at it from this perspective of, all the different things that we've learned through all the different books that we have read, learning all these different techniques for better communication and better recognizing our thought processes, and all of those things, I can see where I went sideways so many different times with the kids. And even those things now. I mean, I have my three of my grandchildren that live here with us, and I still every day see myself doing things. Stop that, stop. That's not the best way to handle the situation. But yet, when you have three children all screaming at the same time, it's like, it's hard to remember those techniques of and even the books that we have read have not been parenting self-help books. They've been internal, looking at your own internal dialogue, and working through your own BS, and all of those kinds of things, and figuring out how to translate what I've learned over these years, into being better with the kids. I mean, it's even hard. I mean, I know that I know that for myself it's hard, let alone recognizing that, people who haven't even studied these kinds of things, or haven't read about them, or haven't even looked at inside themselves to see what thought processes are going on. I mean, they don't even know, and so I have to constantly, not constantly, when the thoughts come up in my head that tell me, oh, you did really not good when you were, a young parent, I have to recognize that I didn't know what I didn't know, and even now I still don't know what I don't know. And and I have to have compassion for myself and say, I'm doing the best that I can with what I do know, and I am working on trying to be better and trying to help my grandchildren recognize or learn some of these things that I didn't know, and that, as a child, I never was taught. And that's all I can do. I can't be just immediately perfect. What is perfect anyway? But I mean, I I have to recognize that, and I have to have compassion for myself and forgive myself for what I didn't know. Because I mean, how can I really beat myself up for what I didn't know? I mean, you don't know what you don't know. So
And
go ahead, Lori.
I wish I knew then what I know now when I was
Yeah.
younger.
Yes. I
Yeah.
think it's observational. I started this journey when I had my first serious flare up of this thing and was bedridden, and I had no idea what was going on. But it's an observational. I didn't, if you go back in year 3 or 4 years old, and you you've got behavioral issues, and you can't get along with other kids, and you have anxiety and fear, and the way that that manifests itself is you need attention. Um, so me today, I look at my actions. What am I doing? And more importantly, what am I not doing? Usually, I'm not taking care of myself. I'm not feeding myself the way I need to feed myself, or eat the way I need to eat. And I have to be a parent to myself. Um, that's new. And rather than, I don't want to be the parent that my parents were to me. I want to be that loving, there's not a damn thing that you can do that's going to make me not love you kind of parent. You know what I'm saying? The ones that you always, um, like when I was growing up, it was the Brady Bunch or the mom, in some of those shows are like, why can't my mom be like that? But we are so lucky and so blessed to have, technology can be, an enemy, but it can also be a friend. I mean, I've studied Gabor Mate, and I actually get to go back, and I got all my answers. I got all my answers. Like Lori said, I wish I knew today, if I was 6 years old right now, and I had this kind of knowledge and I meditated, I'd be like a little mini Tiger Woods. I mean, God knows what you could accomplish in life. And that's something that we need to teach our young kids. Slow them
For
down.
sure. For sure.
Teach them how to in through the top of the head. There are 7 chakras in our body, and each one is important. And this isn't, blue light. We're not trying to piss the Christians off. This is just reality.
Yeah, I agree, Kenji. I mean, I I got I found it's just so wonderful when I find things on the internet that people have decided to do to help us teach our children better things. And I found this one company, I don't know what the company name is, but they produce a couple products that are journals for children, introspective journals, and
Mm,
confidence boosting, and it's called the Big Life Journal. So for those of you who are out there and you're wondering how do I teach my kids better, is that there are resources. They're not a lot, I have found, but there are some more than what there's ever been before, where there are people who have learned some of the things that we've learned, and they're teaching, they're producing products that help us be able to teach our kids better. And one of them is the Big Life Journal, and that is like I got that for my granddaughter. She's 7.5 now,
mm,
and so the first version is for this age, where as a parent or a grandparent or just another person, you can go through this journal with them and help them recognize their positive things about themselves, and help them remember the things where they have overcome challenges so that they can face their fears.
mm,
And there's a whole lot more in there than that, but and I'm not promoting that because I'm going to earn any kind of commission. I'm not an affiliate for that or anything like that. This is just my personal recommendation of something that you can use. And Catherine mentioned also the book Tiger Tiger Is It True by Byron Katie, and
mm.
I had gotten that one I don't know, a couple years ago, and I'm glad you mentioned that again, Catherine, because I had forgotten that I had that book. And because back, a couple years back, it wasn't uh she wasn't they weren't quite getting it. And so now I guess I could have just kept reading it anyway, even though they didn't really understand. But either way, I need to dig that one out. But then also, Catherine, you wrote a book not too long ago, and
Mhm.
Not
it,
now, cricket.
Not Now Cricket, and that's another one. So if I'm going to put some links in the video when I post this video. I'm going to make some notes. Okay. Okay, here, you guys continue talking. I'm gonna write myself a note so I don't forget.
I was gonna say I'm still waiting on Catherine's next book. I love that first one, and it really, even though I was an adult, it really spoke to me as an adult, and so I appreciated that book, and I told her that too, way back when. But
I told her she needs
it's a
to
good
narrate.
book.
She needs to narrate that book because she's got a great reading voice.
Oh yeah,
Thank you. I do need to narrate that book and I need to finish. I have several books in process, but having my granddaughter with me for the past 6 months, my life was just a little too busy to, when I had downtime, I just needed to rest and not be. When I was creating with her different things. And so, but now that she's gone back home, I'll have more time to work on my books. And I want to really get that fire safety book out because
Mm.
that one I think will be beneficial. It's hopefully one that I can get into the schools and stuff.
We've carried on for quite a while. I guess we're running over here.
Time to say, oh, my watch is out of juice. Damn it.
We never stick to the time. Kenji,
I
just so you
know,
know, like we're
I know that.
and Lori knows that too. She's being funny. Like sometimes we don't get started until 20 after because we're just talking about whatever beforehand. And we used to do these live and we decided to take the stress of that off of us and just do recordings and post them. Uh, it makes it easier and it's not as stressful. And I was never comfortable on the lives anyway. So
Yeah. Well, it used to be back when we was Google Hangouts. That's how I started it originally. And that's how we all found each other. I mean, except for Lori, you found us through Catherine and Kenji, that's how you found us. But everybody else that's participated over the years has managed to find us because at the time we were doing the Google Hangouts. And so I think about that sometimes and I'm like, gosh, but then at the same time, I'm like, this group has manifested in the way that it was supposed to. We weren't supposed to have, 1,000 people on here at a time. And I don't think that we would have gotten the same value from it if we had so many people on here that it made it difficult to have, really true, deep expressions of our own thoughts, because sometimes one of us will just, dominate most of the conversation, and and that's fine because we need to do that sometimes. And I think we had too many people on here, it would be that would be difficult. But yet at the same time, um, I don't want to discourage anybody from joining us because I know that we find each other at the right time in our lives. And we've even had people that have been on for a while and then they leave for a while and then they come back for a while, and we've been doing this since 2015. Is that right?
Wow.
2013, something like that.
I think
And
2013. I think
2013. So I mean, we've been doing this
2013, I think. Yeah.
yeah, for over 10 years now, or coming up. This is going to be our 10-year anniversary, I think. Is that no, 24. So that would be 12, 11 years. 11 years we didn't do a 10-year celebration last. Uh,
Oops.
I
it
think
is what it
adding
is.
into what I think adding into what you're saying, I think the fact that we all, even though we've never met, but we know each other very well, and when we do talk and we need those moments, we can come on here and because some of us have had moments where we just have kind of broken down too, and but we've not been ashamed or afraid or you know it's a place where we all feel safe too, where we can come in and just share our hearts sometimes. And that's what's I love about this group is, we can love each other, share, and learn and grow in our own lives too, all at the same point.
For sure. For sure. Well, I want to thank you all today for sharing. And it was really good to hear from you too, Kenji. And I know I wasn't on here last week, so I don't know how much you added to the conversation, but I'm thankful that you did today. And because we we all have been able to learn and grow beyond our own inner thought processes and what we learn in books simply because one of us on here has had a different perspective or can share a something from their life that they have connected the dots with, if you will. And that's happened for me more often than I had a lot of times over the years, as I've gained an insight that I would otherwise not have if I hadn't been able to have a conversation with you guys about it, or I haven't been able to listen to what your thoughts and your experiences and your insights have profoundly affected me throughout my entire life, entire time that we've been doing this. And I'm so thankful for all of you. So anyone else want a final thought before we wrap up for today?
Thank you all. It's been awesome.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Have a great week, everybody. And Kenji, good luck with your move. He's relocating. So good luck with that, because that's a tremendous thing to deal with when you have health challenges. So be praying for you.
For sure. All right, guys. Well, I'm gonna wrap this thing up. And so for everybody who's out there watching, I do want to remind you, if you want to participate with you, we would love to have you. You just need to scroll down below this video, because if you're watching it, it's on YouTube. I think pretty much even if you click on the link on Facebook, it still takes you to YouTube to watch it. So yeah, go down below the video and you'll find links to get into our Facebook group, which is the easiest place to figure out how to join us, because there's a pinned post in there where it has the link to this Zoom meeting. And we get on here every Saturday, most every Saturday at 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific is when we typically tend to be on here, if not earlier, because a lot of times we join earlier than that and have some pre-conversation before we start the recording. And then we just talk until we feel like stopping. Used to be it was like an hour, and now it's just whenever we feel like stop talking. So you can find the link to our Facebook group. You can figure out how to join us. We'd love to have you. And with that, if you've enjoyed this video, by all means, give us a like and share it with somebody else who you think it would benefit. So with that, have a great, awesome, amazing week. And we'll see you next time on the Saturday Morning Mastermind. Bye for now.
Adios.